So, 30 Years of AIDS, Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, written by me. So, where did AIDS come from? AIDS crisis began in the 1980s. Before the disease was mentioned, it had been killing people for at least a decade. In Africa, the virus HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, started off in chimpanzees, and later to humans at some point in the 20th century. It is believed to have been spread through blood contact while humans hunted for these type of chimps. There are an estimated 1.5 million unknown viruses in the world. Not all of those can infect humans, but many can. And not all of those will cause the next pandemic, but many could. Written by Dr. Peter Daszak. So, what is a T cell? T cells help us fight infections through our immune system. They play a critical role to foreign substances, and they are a type of white blood cell, also known as CD4 or the helper cell. The average person has about 750 to 1500 CD4 T cells per microliter of blood. In total, that's about 500 billion in the healthy human body. HIV attaches itself to these cells, destroying them, while also making multiple copies of itself. Once the number of T cells drops to less than 200 per microliter, that person goes from being diagnosed with HIV to AIDS. There are multiple ways a person can contract HIV. Unprotected sex, anal or vaginal, although the risk is higher through anal sex. Dirty needles being shared, or a woman can pass HIV to a baby during childbirth and can even pass it on through the mother's breast milk, and also blood transfusions. So, let's break it down.
When a virus winds up inside the body, it's usually met with a furious onslaught from the immune system. White blood cells immediately respond by releasing antiviral proteins, attacking infected cells and recruiting backup. Usually, this is enough. But there's one virus that pushes the immune system beyond its limits: HIV. HIV infects one of the immune cells that is central to the body's response to pathogens, the helper T cell. First, the virus attaches and enters. Once inside, the virus moves towards the nucleus along with its enzymes and genetic material. One of these enzymes, reverse transcriptase, converts the viral RNA into a length of DNA, which inserts into the cell's genome, forcing the cell to spew out HIV proteins and genetic material to make new copies of the virus. These new viruses escape the cell to infect others. HIV levels rise rapidly in the body, but the immune system doesn't go down without a fight. Inside infected cells, antiviral proteins called restriction factors work to shut down virus production, whilst others stop the virus from escaping the cell. Outside, white blood cells called B cells produce neutralizing antibodies, which bind to surface spikes on HIV particles and stop them entering healthy helper T cells. The greatest assault comes from killer T cells and natural killer cells, which seek and destroy infected cells directly. They release a protein called perforin, which punctures the infected cells, allowing enzymes to be injected, triggering auto-destruction. For a while, the defense holds and virus levels drop. But HIV begins its counterattack. It disables the cell's antiviral proteins, allowing new virus particles to leave the cell. It also constantly mutates inside the cell to evade detection. The immune system can't fight what it can't see. Eventually, the immune system wears itself out. Killer T cells, activated for too long, become exhausted and no longer respond to infection. Also, the body loses the ability to make new helper T cells to replace those killed in the fight, and as a result, their numbers plummet. Ultimately, the body becomes immunodeficient, and this condition is known as AIDS. Without treatment, exposure to otherwise harmless microbes can be fatal. We still have no way of eliminating HIV from the body completely. There is no cure, and hidden reservoirs of HIV will rebound if treatment stops. But treatment with antiretroviral drugs can swing the balance, allowing the immune system to recover from battle and live to fight another day. When a virus winds up inside the body, it's usually met with a furious onslaught from the immune system.
Here we go. Okay, so AIDS is the last stage of HIV infection. In the US, most people with HIV do not develop AIDS because of the developed medicine that stops the progression. Without proper medication, people who develop AIDS only survive about 3 years. The quicker you receive the medication upon contraction, the more benefits to that person there is. Some people report having no initial symptoms, while others experience flu-like symptoms 2 to 4 weeks after initial contraction. Some symptoms can include fever or chills, sore throat, skin rash, headaches, nausea or vomiting, diarrhea, weight loss, confusion, fatigue, and night sweats. Signs that an infected person's illness has progressed from HIV to AIDS: oral thrush, recurrent herpes, chronic mouth ulcers, neurological problems, cervical cancer, recurrent pneumonia, and tuberculosis. HIV infects the cells that support and surround nerves in the brain and in the body. This often leads to nerve damage, pain, and numbness in the hands and feet. HIV affects the liver, spleen, pancreas, and kidneys. HIV makes it easier for a person to contract all kinds of different infectious diseases because of the weak immune system, like you saw at the end of that video. Here in the year 2025, we have antiviral medication known as ART for those with this disease. People who are able to take this medication are able to live longer, healthier lives with improved quality of life. ART prevents the virus from replicating in the body and reduces the amount of HIV in the body. With less HIV in the body, the CD4 T cells can recover and produce more in the immune system. And also that means with less HIV present, the lesser risk there is of transmission. Ta-da!